Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Reels and Heels. As you can see, we're missing a couple people. Willow will be joining us in a few minutes here, but let's hop into our intro. Yeah, see that intro, there's something about that intro. Whenever we have a lot of the guests on and they're listening to that music, they're always dancing in the back. Especially like Ryan. Ryan's always rocking out to that. So Omar, how you doing, brother?
Doing pretty good, man. Pretty good. How about you guys?
Doing good. So we'll talk about it a little bit later in the show, but your write-up on Phantasm is blowing up, man. In the Fantasm group, a lot of people are agreeing with exactly what you said. I love your choice of wording, but like I said, we'll get into that a little bit later. But we're joined by a special guest, Kevin Cleveland, who is an artist and also a horror fan and a comic book fan and all-around geek. I can just see behind you there.
Yeah, we're in my studio right now.
Nice.
Michael's behind me.
Yeah. So, Kevin, when did all this love for geekdom start for you?
Oh, geez. I was early on. I've been an artist as long as I was able to hold a brush. Nerdy, geeky stuff, though. I mean, I was raised in the 90s. You got your Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, all that fun stuff. You know, comics, Marvel, everything. You know, that was like the height of too much comics. So it was everywhere. How could I not be into it, you know? And then horror, something about horror just it's always drawn to me. I remember going to the theaters to go see Nightmare Before Christmas when it came out, and that just shaped everything from there.
That is a film that kind of crosses boundaries. It's horror because of the Tim Burton aspect, but it could also be a Christmas movie too. A lot of people, and then some people just watch it year round because it is a great film. Great voice cast. So you said as soon as you could pick up a brush, that's when you knew you wanted to be an artist?
Oh yeah. So my mom's an artist, so I guess she was a little biased. You know, as soon as you're a small child, you can't really do anything yet, but as soon as you're able to hold a pencil or a brush or whatever, she put me in front of a canvas or in front of some paper, and I just started drawing, and just kind of born with it. I will say, though, it's not just talent, it's a lot of skill, too. There's a lot of learning and practicing and knowing what to do and how to do it. It's not just I can hold a pencil, now I'm going to draw Spider-Man. I don't know.
So did you end up then? I mean, you said your mom's an artist, but did you go to school to kind of own the craft a little bit?
Well, I mean, the required school of elementary, middle, and high school. I focused more on art throughout all of that stuff. Any electives? It's what art classes do you have? I'd rather not do gym. What do you got instead of can I do some drawing, sculpting, whatever. Since then, though, I had some interest in it when I first got out of high school, but for the most part, I kind of skipped the college thing and just went on my own. I did do a little bit of community college, HCC, and that was okay. I don't know, but it's a lot of, academic stuff, and what am I going to do with more algebra or something? I'm already an adult. I know I don't need that in real life.
So you sent over some pretty cool art stuff. You want to go ahead and tell us about some of this here? Like this right here. I do like this piece.
Absolutely. This one, it's just, I had this idea of a predator stalking their prey, horror aspect. It could be like a demon or something coming after this girl here, and she's panicking, she's afraid, she doesn't know what to do, reaching out, stop, don't come, and it's just an ominous, menacing look, seeing that claw right there, and what's about to happen.
Yeah, I mean, being just a still picture, you can feel the tension from this picture. This is a well done picture here. This one too.
Oh yeah, kind of the same vibes on this one. This is actually a bit of a promotion for a horror comic I'm working on. Me and this writer, Stan Konopka, he wrote up this story of like a family going to a cabin in the woods, that whole trope. But this creature just like stalks them around the forest and around the lake and stuff. And my idea for him, for the monster, which I'm not going to show off yet because he got to reveal that in the comic, but he has like two glowing eyes and like no mouth. But like as he gets you connected into the eyes, his eyes glow, sort of pulls you in like a tractor beam. More eyes just start popping up on its head, and then the mouth like opens up, kind of like a reverse of that scene in The Matrix when Keanu Reeves' mouth melts shut. Same thing, but in reverse and like huge.
That reminds me a lot of like the Shoggoths from Lovecraft, with the many eyes all over the place and stuff, and that sounds really cool.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. And then I really love this one, and at Phantasm I saw more of this style of work. This one right here.
Oh yeah, this Hellraiser is one of my all-time favorite horror movies. It came out the year I was born, and just it's insane the level of I'm a big fan of prosthetic effects and like traditional actual effects and stuff, and just seeing the scene of Frank coming back from nothing and just all the gooey grossness of his body building. That image actually is in my new book. I just came out with a new horror book, Icons of Horror. Here it is. Hellraiser's in there. There's a ton of others in there. We got classic monsters, we got slashers, we got the paranormal.
What is your favorite type of horror? I mean, in this book you have, like you said, slashers, the Universal monsters and paranormal stuff. So what do you gravitate most to?
Well, for a while, sort of recently, I was gravitating more towards like the supernatural, paranormal stuff, like The Conjuring and Paranormal Activities, things like that. Because sometimes it's what you can't see that's the scariest. And but for fun, I love the slasher movies. One of my all-time favorites is Scream, and of course, all they're doing is referencing other slasher movies, and then just cutting people up. It's just fun.
You excited for the fifth one?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Fourth one was a little, but the first one's like the one.
The fifth one, I've been following the production a little bit, but I haven't really looked at the story. Are they ignoring some films, or is this like directly after the fourth one?
I believe it's directly after the fourth.
I don't remember.
Nice. Well, the fourth one I thought was pretty decent. That was the one that they brought in Roberts.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked it. I liked the soundtrack for it. I thought it was pretty fun. I would probably rank it as like my second or third favorite of the franchise, with 3 being at the low bottom.
Notice I didn't even mention 3. I said 1 and 2.
I thought 4 was at least up there with 2, but not nearly as good as 1. But none of them are. So
it's true.
Well, I mean, the second one had the fantastic Timothy Oliphant in it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, that was the saving grace, I think, for the second one.
Yeah. I mean, and as much as I like Scott Foley, I mean, in the third one, his character was a bit annoying, a little bit.
You don't believe him as anything other than, what was the first thing he was in? Friday Night Lights?
Dawson's Creek, right? Was he
Dawson's
Dawson's
Creek?
No. He was
I
Felicity.
remember.
Felicity.
Felicity. That's what it was. Yeah.
It was one of those
Those
Kevin
shows.
Williams
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
It looks like Anthony's going to be joining us here soon. But yeah, Omar, I know you're a huge Universal Monsters fan, and I already know that the Wolfman is your dude. So there
I
is.
have all this flannel.
You should pull up the calendar picture.
Oh, you know what?
You should pull it up.
We don't have it loaded in the thing though. That was
Speaking
every time I see it, I'm like, oh, there we go with Wolfman.
Hey, Anthony, how you doing, brother?
Hey, how you doing? Sorry I'm late.
It's all right, man. I'm digging the shirt. Love the shirt.
Oh yeah, Courtney, the guy who ran the haunt,
Awesome.
got it for me and gave it to me Friday. So,
Yeah, Omar actually loved that haunt. He went through it.
Oh
It's
man, I
awesome.
thought it was so great.
I didn't get a chance to go through it when it was running. I went through after they set it up, and then we took one of the guests, Kat Cressida, because she's the Haunted Mansion bride. We took her through it. She didn't want to go through it when it was operational, so we took her through it backwards with the lights on. So what's going on?
Well, we were talking about Kevin's art and his love for Scream and Hellraiser. And then, of course, Omar is a big Universal Monsters fan, and the Wolfman is his favorite. So what about you?
Creature from the Black Lagoon. I've always, when I was a kid and I was watching like Creature Feature down here with Dr. Paul Bearer, the original Dr. Paul Bearer, and I would always turn it on, and it was always, you'd get Frankenstein and Dracula and stuff like that, and the Hand and all these other things. I always wanted it to be Godzilla. So if it was any of the other Universal things, I would always go, I don't want to watch that, and I'd shut it off. But now that I'm older, I got more of an appreciation for the Universal monsters. But Creature's my favorite.
Yeah, and Creature was actually filmed here in Florida, right? Ocala?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Right about 45 minutes from here. I think 45 minutes from here.
Yeah. Do they do tours of the filming locations, or are they not there no more?
No, they're there. They did Gillibration, Monster Manor held a convention there in 2019, I believe, 18 or 19, and then they did a tour of the area, and they have glass bottom boats and things like that. So it's Silver Springs, I believe. So,
yeah, we'll have to go.
It's still there.
We'll have to go up there.
Yeah.
We just added something to our bucket list.
Yeah, and it's not far from us. It's only a couple hour drive from Lakeland.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about 40 minutes from us, from where I'm at. Nice mask, by the way. Looks good in the case.
Yeah. I actually saw somebody on YouTube, and I guess he has a pretty good following. He's in Australia, called Cosplay Chris. And he's actually friends with the guy that started Trick or Treat Studios.
I feel like you got to do something with his eyes, though.
Yeah.
Like you got to put something behind it.
Like something black.
So that you don't see the bags.
Get a like a ski cap or a balaclava, like those over the hood things, and just turn it around. Because is it on a foam head?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, because they say don't put them on styrofoam because it reacts to the latex.
Yeah, but I did the bag trick that you told me.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Perfect.
Well, actually, I did the bag trick that you told him about.
Yeah, you did the bag trick. So
a little bit of credit here.
Let's kind of break it down into categories. Omar, what do you think we should talk about first? Classics?
Well, yeah, we were just talking about Universal Horror, right? So we should probably dip into that.
Yeah. So when you guys think of the classics like Universal and Hammer, what are some of those films that stick out to you guys? And we'll start with you, Kevin.
All right. The one that really sticks out for me, I love all of them, but Dracula. I've got a big connection to that one. My grandmother showed it to me when I was little. We had a whole thing about it. And Yeah, Dracula, man. He's classy. He dresses up for the occasion.
Yeah.
Which version?
I prefer Bela Lugosi, but really all versions except for Dracula 2000. Forget that one.
I never saw that one. That's
Gerard Butler in that one.
Yeah.
He doesn't strike me as a vampire dude, but whatever.
I do like the classic Dracula. I also love Christopher Lee.
Oh, obviously, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I remember when I was growing up. I remember the Frank Langella one was the first one I saw because I think it was a TV movie in '77 or '78. I believe it was right around then, and it had Donald Pleasance in it, and it had I'm trying to remember the woman's name that played in it. I just watched it probably a month ago, and I can't remember her name. But yeah, Langella. It was a weirder take. He was a little bit more of a normal guy playing Dracula. He wasn't as he was still classy, but he wasn't the way the other counts have been, where he was more regal and stuff like that. He was more of a regular guy. But
he wasn't a monster in that one, right? Like it was very much played as like more of a sexy romance kind of thing.
More of a ladies guy. Yeah. He was still the count and all that, but he wasn't like regal like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he had the castle and everything, but he was more of a traveler.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, at least it wasn't a George Hamilton vampire.
Hey, that one's silly fun. That's stupid, but it's fun. You know what I mean? It's silly. It's definitely silly.
Yeah.
I still very much enjoy Bram Stoker's. I mean, I think you can't really go wrong with Gary Oldman in any shape or form.
Yeah.
But
it
was pretty awesome.
It was also the classic way that you would, feel about Vlad. And
how close was that movie to the actual book? I never really looked at it.
So even though it's called Bram Stoker's Dracula, it takes quite a few liberties, and it tries to interweave like the historical Vlad Tepes with the story that Bram Stoker did, and it's not quite right, but who cares, man? Like, I don't think that book is actually filmable. I think you have to take liberties sometimes.
That one also was the one that touched on him being old and being able to go back and forth. They didn't really deal with that in the other ones. They kept him more, change into the animals and the bats and all that kind of stuff, but they didn't have him as the old man that got young and then, got sexy. And then, they showed him being the decrepit old man, where the other ones never touched on that before. And it was different for people that don't know that aspect of the book, when they only see Bella and they only see Christopher Lee, and he's always looking the same, maybe have bloodshot eyes and fangs or turn into a bat, but not as this old guy who, almost like Mr. Burns. You know what I mean? He was very Mr. Burns makeup with the butt hair, and all that stuff. They're like, that's Dracula? It's very strange. Not what people remember, from growing up.
Yeah. What are your guys' impressions of Blackula?
I love those movies.
I haven't seen it in so long. And I know that Scott Fensterer just had the director on like 3 weeks ago on Monster Manor, and that was a really interesting interview. So you should go over and watch that. It was really good, really insightful.
Yeah, the Monster Manor podcast is a great show. I actually just subscribed recently, but I've been friends with Scott for a while on Facebook. Great dude, fan of his from Face Off. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Blackula came out during the time when Shaft was really big, and like they wanted to create their own version of horror, and I thought they did a decent job.
Yeah, it's freaky.
Yeah, when you're looking at the Universal monsters, and then of course the British version, which was Hammer Films. What is it about these that stand the test of time, that years later people are still talking about Universal monsters and the Hammer films?
I think it's a mixture of things. Like, it's for a lot of people that was their first interaction with the character, so it's going to be the one that they resonates with the most. Like, it's like the myth of vampires being killed by sunlight. That was from Nosferatu. That's not actual vampire lore at all in mythology. That came from a movie. So if you think about it, if you're watching, like, say, Horror of Dracula, Christopher Lee, or Bela Lugosi's take, and you see this elegant count the entire time, that's what's going to stand out to you. On top of that, practical effects. You know, they couldn't get away with doing CG because they didn't have it back then, right? So everything still looks charming and good because it was really there. The actors were really reacting to it. You know, when you go back and watch, I don't know, something like Blade 3, where there was like heavy CGI, it's dated within a year of release versus something like The Shape of Water, which, I mean, looks fantastic and will probably continue to look that way for years to come.
Yeah, the Hammer stuff also, because they came out in the 60s and stuff, you know, late 50s and the 60s, those were the first time those characters were really in color. They were the ones that everyone grew up with. I mean, they'd show the original Frankensteins and stuff on the Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon creature shows and stuff like Chiller and things. But the Hammer stuff was the ones that got the heavy play, heavy circulation, because they were color. The colors were very bright, vibrant. The sets were, you know, extremely gothic, extremely well, you know, lit. The smoke and all the atmospherics. And then, you know, you had Hammer use the same actors a lot, and you got familiar with them. Where the original ones, you had, like, you know, Karloff did it a couple times. Then you had Glenn Strange doing Frankenstein a couple times. You had Bela Lugosi was pretty much the Dracula up until, sorry, my phone's going off, up until Christopher Lee. You know what I mean? It was Bela pretty much played the only Dracula there was. So in Hammer, when they kept using the same actors, you had a familiarity with them. You knew kind of what you were going to get. Some of the movies were better than others. Like my personal favorite is Curse of the Werewolf with Oliver Reed. That's my favorite. That's my favorite werewolf makeup. Is Strange to do it, albino white. Strange to only do it a couple times. I think that makeup is really, really cool. I loved his outfit. I loved everything about it. It's a different story. It's kind of slow burn in some spots, but yeah, I think that's why Hammer sticks out. There's some clunkers in there, but for the most part, they're good.
Yeah, I mean, and you have, you know, like you said, talent. Peter Cushing did a lot of the Hammer films, as well as Christopher Lee. And before Hammer, there wasn't really a lot of horror in British cinema, if I'm not mistaken. Ain't that right, Omar?
It wasn't as popular and prominent. There's always been horror in any country you go to. Essentially, it's one of those genres that just kind of has always been around. Like, one of the first movies was a horror movie, but as far as like mainstream, people actually like started looking over to the UK for stuff was with the Hammer horror movies. They were just so good. It was the first time you could see like actual blood and stuff in them. The Curse of Frankenstein movies are amazing. And they do such a unique take. They're not trying to copy off of what Jack Pierce did with the Frankenstein makeup. They were doing their own
They weren't allowed.
I mean, yeah, they couldn't, but like, you know, thank goodness for that. Like, yeah. I'm glad, because we got a completely different take, and I can honestly say it's one of my favorite versions of Frankenstein.
Yeah, because the second one they did, it was just they got rid of the monster completely and went straight to he created a Frankenstein like a woman, and she wasn't all monstrous. She was just a woman that was reanimated, and then then they went back to do let's do the monsters again. So.
Nice. So, what other classics do you guys want to touch on before we kind of move on to the next category here?
Well, I did want to mention, since we were talking about classics, and I mentioned Nosferatu earlier, that I think the director's name is Robert Eggers, the guy who did The Witch and The Lighthouse. He is also doing a new Nosferatu.
Nice.
And judging by his other movies, I'm willing to bet that it's going to be black and white, and you'll try to make it silent. And I'm so down for that.
What was the last version of that they did? Was it the Willem Dafoe?
Like the
what is that? Shadow of the Vampire? Is that what it was?
Was that the last time they touched on Nosferatu?
I think so.
And then Kinski before that. So,
yeah.
Which I haven't seen the Kinski one in forever, so I have to watch that one again.
That was actually the first one I saw before I hunted down the original.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And you've brought this up on the show before, Omar, how people, complained about Twilight being the sparkly vampires and stuff. But you being the horror history buff, you said that's actually part of lore of vampire.
Well, not so much the sparkliness, but just the idea that they can go out in sunlight. Has always been like Dracula in the novel goes out in the sunlight. He's not as powerful, and he's practically mortal when he's doing it, but he can walk out in the market.
Like they have to concentrate on it. You know what I mean? They have to be aware of it and more.
Right.
It knocks them down a few pegs.
Right. So now I think we should move into let's say the paranormal, supernatural stuff. There's a lot of great stuff.
Talk about paranormal stuff till I get back out there.
Okay. All right. So we'll skip that until she comes back out. Then let's hop into I guess we can talk some more about vampires.
Yeah. There's been so many different takes and iterations on the monster that there's some really fun movies out there. You got stuff like from Dusk Till Dawn, which is one of my favorites. Near Dark, which is like a vampire western. Fright Night is my absolute favorite vampire movie. It's just Rear Window with a twist.
Yeah, and one of the better remakes too.
Yeah, I really like the remake a lot too. I thought Colin Farrell did a great job.
And Doctor Who himself was
David Tennant. Yeah,
David Tennant,
played the Peter Vincent character, and he does a more like Chris Angel, like ridiculous version, which was over the top and campy and fun. So.
Yeah.
Well, you can't copy McDowell.
No, you really can't, and I think it would have failed if he did.
Yeah, he's already a character. His delivery is already a certain way. You can't copy that without moving into a parody. It's the same way like in the Star Trek reboots. You can't copy William Shatner or it's a complete caricature. So there's certain ways that McDowell acted that it wouldn't translate if you tried to emulate that. A couple little lines here and there you could do, but not a straight homage to that type of performance.
Yeah.
And I will say, I've been touching on vampires. I have never seen more than maybe one or two episodes of Dark Shadows. Even the remake that they did in the 80s and all that stuff. I've never watched Dark Shadows. I watched the movie and I've watched like the first episode or two of the show, but I literally know nothing of Dark Shadows. So I need to probably try to watch that, although it is long running.
Yeah, I did see classic Dark Shadow back in the day, which it was horror, but it was more of like soap opera, which is interesting.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, soap opera for sure. Daytime soap, but with vampire twists.
Yeah. What about like this kind of crosses the thing with the classics as well as like, because it's an 80s film, Monster Squad.
Oh, Monster Squad.
One of my absolute favorites.
I love that.
Watch it every year.
Yes, it is one of my, like, it's Goonies for horror fans.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, so many great quotes came from that movie.
I think you can go wrong and when it's a coming of age story set in any genre is probably the best.
Willow's here.
Hey, sorry I'm late.
Hey. Speaking of Monster Squad, for any like young adult kids out there looking for a step up from like Goosebumps or anything, there's a book series called Killer Pizza that is very Monster Squad-esque in how the storytelling is. And I enjoyed it all the way through, gave it to my kid. He loved it. Like, it's pretty good. I'd definitely go check that out.
Yeah, my kids love Goosebumps, so they're
Goosebumps.
They run through it. My daughter, she jumps between Goosebumps and then straight into Creepshow and stuff like that. So she loves it all.
Did she see Fear Street?
Yeah, we watched Fear Street.
What is everybody's thought?
Come here.
I liked it. I thought it was neat. Although I am a huge fan of the books, and
yeah,
so
I girl too. So
I would have loved to see a little bit more delve into the actual story from the books, but their take on.
Mm-hmm.
I did love, don't want to spoil anything for the people that haven't seen it. It's been on Netflix for weeks now, but they did leave it open at the end.
Your fault for not watching it.
Yeah. And then, of course, there's, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, which also a book series. And I thought the film was done really good at PG-13.
Oh, I loved it.
I'm going to tell you, that's the book itself, the trio of books, scared the bejesus out of me when I read them. So then to see those monsters that tormented me when I was 13, because I was a chicken. I'm still a chicken. I'm a chicken.
The art in those books was really cool.
Yeah, and it was just something like
in that movie.
There was like that wispiness of the art brought to life, and it was just really captivating and totally frightening at the same time.
Oh, I thought that movie's special effects were incredible.
They were
incredible, and the soundtrack for it was really good. It's one of the only examples of a Hispanic male lead. In a horror movie.
Yeah.
Can't believe it's taken that long, but yeah, that was a big deal.
Yeah.
I can't say enough good things about that movie. That was excellent.
I feel like we need to watch it again. It should be on our October playlist.
Yeah, we'll watch it again. And I just have to say that Anthony's little one had the best Sam costume at the convention.
Everyone loves her. Everyone wanted to take her. Did you have fun with Sam?
I tried to get Oliver to be Sam this year. I'm very disappointed that he wouldn't be Sam.
There was a vendor that was dressed as Sam too, and when she came down with the other guys, the Harry Warden and Leatherface and all that, she saw her in the Sam and she like peeked up. It's funny how Sams always flock to each other.
Yeah. So we were talking about vampires. What we do in the shadows, not like horror, but I love the take on it. The movie was great.
So
whatever Taika does is gold. He's brilliant, but the series is like another level. I don't know if any of you guys follow it, but it is.
I love it.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
It's such a good show. It is so funny. I'm up to date on it. I watch it every week,
We're a little behind, but that's because we win Parent of the Year because they allow our children to watch it. And they they don't understand a lot of it, which is probably a good thing. But they love the campiness of it, the hilarity that ensues. Like, it's more genuine. I feel like it would be more like what it would be like if vampires really did exist. It's like, I don't think they'd be all sexy and cool. It's like, I think that's a facade. They'd be like, what the hell am I doing 200 years later? Like, what? Like, I think it would be culture shock.
That casino episode when they went to Atlantic City.
Bazinga!
Hey guys, I apologize to do this, but I was actually asked to do an interview with another guy, so I just wanted to stop in and say hi and nice to meet you guys. I apologize to do this last minute.
That's all right, Willow. You do your thing.
So this was the only time that he had time to do the interview, because otherwise it'd be like another 2 weeks.
It's all right, Willow. You do your thing.
Right. Sometimes bend other.
Anthony will be on in the future again, I'm sure.
I
Excellent.
popped in late too, so.
But you guys have fun. Nice meeting
Bye.
you, Anthony and Kevin. We'll
Yep.
chat soon, I hope. Again.
Yep. Bye-bye.
All right, so you want to jump into some paranormal here?
First of all, I think that there should be a conversation about Near Dark, because I knew Lost Boys, and then Brian said, "Have you seen Near Dark?" And I was like, "No, what is this?" And I was like, "Why didn't I know about this before?" Because it was like the best movie ever.
It came out the same year.
And
as
it came
Lost
out the
Boys.
same year, but it got stuck behind, Kiefer Sutherland in his earring. So it just is what it is. But it had Bill Paxton in it, and I love Bill Paxton. So like he has my heart forever.
It was a pre-made cast.
But it was incredible.
Yeah, it was great.
And it was well written, and it was well directed by Catherine Bigelow, and I think it bears notation in this show.
Well, back then it showed that she was a great filmmaker, and of course she went on to do The Hurt Locker, which won her an Academy Award. So
I think it's more. I think it would, like, everybody loves the sex appeal of like Lost Boys and things like that, and that like that.
It's all about the saxophone man.
The saxophone, he's like there's tons of
me.
Tons of me.
I feel like
pumping.
that, like the sex appeal of the 80s, but then the real like strife that would go along with not really having a family, but creating one, and then not necessarily knowing who to trust and who to bring in, and then that whole dynamic. I think that bears at least a note. Like, I loved that movie a lot.
When Anthony's event was announced and Adrienne Barbeau was on that list, I was like, I have to meet her. But like they do at conventions, some things happen. She had to cancel, but I hope that you can get her to come back.
I hope she comes back, because
I hope so too.
It's hard to.
She's been in a lot of our like horror.
I feel like I've been lucky enough to, when I've gone to conventions, to meet people that have been really amazing, and like reach out to the fans. They're not jerks about anything, and it was no different than for Phantasm. Like, it really, the people that I did meet, they were great, and they were. Yeah, it was like, okay, well, I can meet my horror icons, and I don't feel sad because they're douchey people. Like, I felt like they were really happy to be there.
Yeah. But
I feel that way about the horror community a lot. Like, when you hear all these like terrible celebrity stories, it's never about somebody who's been in horror movies, right? Like, those guys seem to always be really genuine, always really excited to like meet and talk to the fans and just have a conversation. And that's the vibe I got throughout the entire show over the weekend too. Like,
well, we were talking about Near Dark before he had, passed away, Bill Paxton. People always loved talking about Bill Paxton, like, and how such a genuine person he was. And, even though after Near Dark, of course, he went on to bigger and better things, but he had that like spot for Near Dark. He loved talking about Near Dark.
I loved the fact that he never discounted what he had done in that movie. Yeah. Like, he always held a special place for it.
That one and Aliens, he always would talk about those films. Everybody, of course, would want to bring up Twister, but he would always want to talk about Aliens and Near Dark.
Well, and I think it's because it wasn't as mainstream. But maybe I think a lot of the times, like, these people that come to conventions and they all know each other, and they all still talk to each other because they did become a family, and they did become friends, and they were all close to each other because that mattered. And I think that that's what people hold on to. If you're really trying to look for your own tribe in your career, then I'm sure that they're going to find it that way.
Well, all the Aliens cast are like that. They don't all talk, but they were all close. And then you got, like, it's not horror, but the Lord of the Rings cast. They're exactly the same way. I mean, they filmed all three of those. They were in another country, you know, all together, and they're, you know, they all got like, matching tattoos and Elvish and stuff. It's like you don't see that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Ian McKellen's, you know, a man of his age, and he's hanging around with, you know, Elijah Wood and all that kind of stuff, younger guys, and they all feel like they're all friends and family. That's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, if I was an actor, I would totally love to hang out with Ian McKellen just to pick his brain about, you know, acting, the stuff that you can learn from that man.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the stories you could tell, like, could you imagine?
Yeah.
Like,
I remember Elijah Wood talking about he had learned a lot from Ian, and they became, you know, really close friends. And like he says, he became a better. He feels he became a better performer after working with him.
I think it's interesting when they talk to people like that too, because Elijah Wood's really come a long way too into his own.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So John Henderson, he says, "Sup guys? It was so nice meeting John of Doomsday Crypt there at Phantasm. He had some great stuff at his."
Yeah, his booth was featured in a lot of the videos that I saw. He had the Michael booths for sure.
Yeah. So you want to move on to, because I know we only have Kevin for a little bit here. Let's move on to paranormal.
Are you sure you don't want to talk about your slashers first?
Well, we can talk about paranormal here.
Okay. So,
Suspiria.
Suspiria is definitely among my top. It's bizarre, but not totally bizarre. And it's not really paranormal, I guess, unless you believe like witches are paranormal, I guess. I don't know. It was a witch thing.
Yeah.
Is that paranormal?
Yeah, I think witches are kind of into the paranormal, like cult thing. I guess that's kind of.
But I love Suspiria.
Yeah. So what about you guys? I mean, I know you had mentioned, Kevin, Paranormal Activity and The Conjuring.
The Conjuring.
Yeah, that one came out and I was not ready for it, man. Like, it was a time where I was kind of numb to horror at the time. You know, everything's coming out and it's all blood and guts, which is fun, but like, I'm not scared of these people. And then The Conjuring comes out and you can't see the horror. You know, it's what you can't see that's more terrifying, I think. And then just, you know, it's an innocent family, you know, just doing their thing. And similar to like The Exorcist way back in the day, you know, Reagan's just an innocent little girl, then all of a sudden she's possessed by the devil. I mean, like, what?
Yeah, no one was ready for that one when that came out. That was quite something, you know.
Yeah, and the Omen as well.
The Omen.
I very, very much enjoyed though A Haunting in Connecticut. About the house, because they had featured that actual like the documentary on the show A Haunting before they made it into a movie.
Yeah.
And so when you talk to the mother of the child that this affected, and you see her fear, and then you watch this movie, even if
it's
Hollywood took a lot of liberties to the story, like that whole, you know, being that close to that veil of the other world, like this boy really was fighting for his life in all senses of the word. And that kind of like, I don't know, it was very creepy.
Here's a film that I believe in the horror community, and a lot of people may agree that it is an underrated film, The Exorcism of Emily Rose.
Oh man, I liked that one actually.
That was a good movie.
Yeah, that was.
This was I want to say it came out before she was in Dexter, or
I think it was before Dexter. Yeah.
Before Dexter. Yeah. I'm not into possession movies. Like it's not. I to this day have not watched every scene of The Exorcist. I have not, and I cannot, and I will not, and it just.
Well, you're not alone.
Like I cannot watch that movie all the way through.
So let me ask Anthony and Omar this: what is it about these possession films that maybe it may be a little too much for people to watch? In your eyes, what is your opinion on that?
I think a lot of it stems from upbringing. You know, a lot of us came from homes that would at least try to get us in a church without burning, right? And
Well,
so regardless of how you feel about that, when you watch something that kind of confirms all the fears that have been thrown at you since you were a child, it makes you feel gross. It makes you feel like it could happen, that something is there. And The Exorcist in particular, there's no hope in that movie. Like, not for a second do you believe that this priest is going to be able to pull this off. It's just too much. It's overwhelming. He's dealing with the literal devil, and it's such a one-sided uphill battle. And I don't know anyone who goes in there thinking, I was like, there's going to be a happy ending at the end of this, guys. Like,
well, you had
not.
you had the old priest. You had Max von Sydow was the old priest, and then you had the younger priest who had problems at home. His mom was ill. He wasn't sure of himself, you know, and things like that. So you had this frail old man. What's he going to do? And then you got this young guy who's, you know, doubtful. What's he going to do?
Compromised, right?
Both out of their league here with this. And then you touch back on the fact that Regan's innocent, the mom's innocent. You know what I mean? There is no hope there, and you're just like, what's going on? What's happening here? How can they fix this? And it was a lot for people in '73 to deal with that. They didn't have anything like that. You know, this was before The Omen came out. That was really the first time where you had that on screen, and it was quite the shock. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and both The Omen and Exorcist on their sets, people said that both films were cursed.
Yep.
Well, there were a lot of things that happened in coincidence with, or at least, I don't know, coincidence, maybe not. But I think to answer the question there, I haven't watched it because it freaks me out or just not my thing. Possession movies in general aren't my thing, but I think they're not my thing because it does freak me out. And there's that reason. I think Omar touched on it when he says that it's that religious, like, background that comes with a lot of us, like, and then things that happen in our lives. So, like, for me, yes, I grew up in a very Catholic family, and my mom was, she went to church every Sunday, Friday, all that craziness, can't eat, there's a lot of things that were the traditional Catholic values. And then when she went to baptize my sister and I, we were not fit to be baptized because we were not members of the church, and that's really translation for they didn't give enough money to the church. And so I have all these bad feelings about church in general. And so I'm like, so is my soul damned then? Because with all of this in the back of my head, is my soul damned, and could this happen to me? And I don't have anything to fall back on because I don't have anything to believe in.
And you don't even have to have that upbringing. You could be completely agnostic, or you could be atheist or whatever, and you can still watch those movies and you'll buy into them, even if that's not your thing, that's not your upbringing. You will suspend your own disbelief long enough to watch that movie and still believe in it. And that's the one thing about all the possession movies and things like that is, I don't want to use the word transcends, but it does happen. You don't have to be part of that world to pay attention to them. I mean, there's things you can watch and not get into it because, that's not real, that won't happen like that. But you don't care with those. The Exorcist or Sinister or anything like that. Even Annabelle. You will not care enough to watch the movie and be entertained by it, or scared shitless by it. Doesn't matter.
You ever wonder why it is always a religious family, though? Like, why is it that they can always find a priest that's willing to do it? But someone who is unbaptized and, flirts with the paranormal and witchcraft on a general basis, totally hypothetical here. But it never happens to people like me. Like, the devil doesn't want to take my soul. He just wants to take the soul of somebody who's religious. Like, I don't understand that.
Well, I do see that pattern.
It's to break that person.
And so
the devil would get
it's
more
like-
out of it if he could break somebody that
is faithful.
from the opposite side. He gets more out of it. You
Oh yeah, it's totally that. Because no one's gonna believe it when like the goth atheist kid gets possessed by the devil. Oh, he's just doing that for attention. But
Yeah.
when the proper upbringing, bringing tie and all that, you know,
Good point.
straight laced, super Christian type of person, and if they're doing it, well, what? There's
gets
the
that-
why.
He
How?
gets a bigger W out of it. He gets the bigger
Yeah.
win.
Exactly.
See,
Maybe it's more fearful
in
then.
films like this, I can see why Discovery and the Science Channel and all them do a lot of documentaries on paranormal and stuff, because you can have conversations like this.
Well, because when we talk about things that are paranormal, they're outside of our range, but we want so badly for there to be a reason for why they happen, and so we're always trying to put a science to it. And they have kind of found ways to put a science, to study it, to try to make it a science, and it's not really a pseudoscience anymore, because there are ways to bring it in valid, like testing of some of these, unexplainable events. But I think maybe just along with like possessed objects and things like that, energy, if we think about energy in general, energy never dies. And energy is never created nor destroyed. So it just changes. So what's going to stop the energy coming from this body that is now deceased into something else to do whatever? Like, I think that's my love with the paranormal. Until somebody gets the Ouija board out, and then I'm like,
Oh yeah,
we aren't opening those doors.
At all, she will and Luigi the house. Like, she's seen too many movies like that, and like, well, hey.
And it can be in a Milton Bradley box, but I don't care because it's not coming in my house.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for the longest time, it was off the shelf, and they just brought it back. You can buy it at Spirit Halloween.
Yeah. Pillows and rugs and doormats and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, I've got a coffee mug.
Candles, coffee mugs. Yep.
Yeah. So let's hop into slashers here, because I know Kevin's got to go here soon. So Kevin, we'll start with you in the slasher genre.
Oh, slashers. Where do I begin? That's one of those ones, like, everyone's got their favorites, and everyone's got, reasons for their favorites. For me, it always changes. My favorite slasher character, Freddy Krueger. But then, like, my favorite franchise is Friday the 13th. Like, why is that? But it's just, they're different. The first movie of each franchise, I think Halloween is what, like, did it for me. And then just, there's something great about this person who's seemingly just a guy. He can do whatever he wants to because he's all powerful. Freddy Krueger comes to you in your dreams, and he's got magic for that. Jason unkillable, Michael unkillable. But then, they think they killed him off at the end of the movie, but they're not. I mean, they wouldn't make 20 movies off of him if they killed him off.
Because evil never dies.
That's it.
Yeah. So what about
sometimes?
Yeah. So Kevin, what about a slasher film that you think people should check out that maybe a lot of people have not seen that you would want to recommend?
Actually, I've heard that a lot of people don't know anything about Hatchet. There's a series of Hatchet movies. I love Kane Hodder, man. He played Jason for like the last half of the franchise, and then he was, the main guy for Hatchet, and just it's good. I don't know what to say without spoiling anything, so I won't. But check him out.
That character, Victor Crawley, is a very cool character.
Yeah.
There's about 4 movies in the franchise. They're all excellent. Like every last one of them is great.
It takes a variation on a Jason type character. You got the hillbilly or whatever he is, Louisiana man in the woods. It adds some of wrong turn in there. You know what I mean? It is a cool character. Very heavy makeup. I think it's probably more makeup than he had on even in Part 7 as Jason.
Oh,
Just,
yeah.
You know, because that makeup looks heavy. It just looks heavy. The big head and all the hair and everything.
Oh,
Cool.
That first one had one of my favorite kills I've ever seen in a slasher movie.
oh,
Yeah. The can opener.
oh.
Yeah.
That was a good one. And the camera shot spinning around it was
the 360 camera shot, so you could see the whole view. I was just like, this is as iconic as Jason slamming the
sleeping bag
against the tree.
And that that always bothered me that movies now show a hell of a lot more than the Jason movies were allowed to show, back in the 80s. And it sucks that they went after him so hard. You know what I mean? But then,
well, now you can't scare our kids.
Yeah, but I mean, even other movies back then did have gore in them, but for some reason the Jason ones were hit the hardest. Didn't matter,
But it was a lot of it was the stuff that you didn't see. Like, I still tell Brian that the scariest part of Texas Chainsaw Massacre isn't anytime you see a Leatherface.
Right.
It's all the times you don't. And it's all the times you don't see necessarily what's happening. So the blood across the white sheets still scares the bejesus out of me. Like, because you can only imagine what that looks like.
Right.
For it to be flying up again across the sheets. Or
the meat hook.
Oh my God.
Oh. They don't even show it. It's from the front. You don't see anything.
And you just see the agony. That's what you see.
Yeah.
So you can imagine what it looked like from the back.
Yeah.
And the more fear happens with what's happening inside your head, which is, I think, why I'm going to tell you, like, my favorite will always be Scream, the first one, because this is the movie where you think you're smarter than everybody else, but you're really only as smart as the person who's got the axe to grind, like the crazy person who wants to kill you because your dad slept with your mom or slept with his mom. Yeah. So anyways, it was messed up. And for a long time, you didn't know who the killer was. And they laughed at all the tropes, which I still laugh at today, but it's my favorite.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. And I'm of the camp that thinks that, Matthew Lillard's character is still alive, plotting.
I hope so.
Well, I kind of him and Skeet have kind of been teasing on Twitter.
They love their characters. Like, I love the fact that he loves his character.
I mean, because like I said, Part 5, the plot hasn't really been leaked or anything.
Right. It'd be interesting. It would be very interesting if they would be able to bring him back.
It would be hard for Skeet
to come full circle.
Yeah, I mean, Skeet got shot in the head.
Yeah.
That's tough.
I don't think he'd come back from that.
No.
And don't make it some weird paranormal thing like his ghost is haunting somebody else. That's
the thing about the Scream movies is they'll never go that route. They're gonna
it's be a slasher flick.
It's set in logical. So like, I mean, where like Friday the 13th and the Halloween films are kind of like they're somewhat logical, and then like they add that paranormal thing to it.
But what I really like is the fact that out of the mind of Wes Craven, like I think I was 13 or 14 before I ever saw anything about Freddy Krueger. And I think by design, because I'd already been ruined by other scary movies that weren't really scary movies until they were scary movies. But like he really terrified me because fucking dog, I swear to God.
We have the Halloween decoration on the door, and it's a little bit breezy. So when it
boom, boom, boom against the door, he's like, "Oh my God!" Nobody will ever come in the apartment and kill us because the dog will bark him to death.
Well, before you finish, I think Kevin, you got to go off to work, right?
Yes, actually, it is time. My alarm just went off too. So.
Yeah. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to put this information up, but we're going to tell you thank you, Kevin, for coming on. We're going to get you back on so we can talk more about your art and whatever we want to talk about. But for people that want to find Kevin, this is where you can find him on Facebook. What is it? Everything. TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. It's at KC or at K Cleveland Art.
Did you not
me.
read
No, I can't see it. But it's kclevelandart.com and all the links are there. So man, you're everywhere. You got Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I'm curious what you do on TikTok.
TikTok, it's mostly like time-lapse drawings or just like behind the scenes watching some sketches. Definitely check that out. I don't have a whole lot of videos up yet because I keep forgetting that TikTok exists, which is a mistake because all the kids love TikTok right now.
The kids love it, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely it's one of the ones you got to tap. You got to tap all the markets.
And if you guys are horror fans, definitely please pick up The Icons of Horror by Cleveland, Kevin Cleveland here, because it's got some great stuff. I did happen to look at it at his table, and he's got some great stuff.
Awesome artwork. Awesome.
All right, thank you.
Can you show
Well,
that
it was
one?
great getting on here, guys.
Which
Thank you
one?
so much for having me on.
This one. Oh, and
Thank you so much for coming, man.
We got to show this one again.
It's still like my favorite drawing. Like as soon as you put it up, I was like, oh my God.
I'm glad you put this one back up because right before I go, I wanted to mention pretty soon, October 16th, they're starting it out. House of Shadows in Tampa. It's an art gallery off of Kennedy. They're starting a Halloween party with like a big Halloween event. That piece that you just put up is going to be available in the gallery, along with 2 more of my pieces. Definitely come check this one out. There's a costume contest. There's rewards for the artists. There's going to be hors d'oeuvres and stuff. Definitely check that out if you can. House of Shadows.
Oh, definitely. And we'll get those links up after the show.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys for having me, man.
Bye. Take it easy.
Take care, Kevin. Oh, man.
Just
So, yeah, Kevin, he's got a very interesting art. Like I was telling him, even though it's black and white, like you can feel the tension in his art.
It's not minimalist, but kind of in a way. It's like Mike Mignola's art, same way. Lots of shadow, lots of fine line detail for not going too much on the cross hatching, just enough to sell depth. So yeah,
and the perspective I think is important.
Yeah, that Frankenstein piece on that cover
behind the thing.
Yeah, like the shading reminds me a lot of Bernie Wrightson, like the way he would shade his stuff and just kind of give it this extra bit of depth.
Yeah, his illustrated stuff, not so much the Bernie's painting stuff, but the
right
illustration.
So John likes your shirt.
My shirt?
Yeah, he says, "Hey Tony, awesome shirt."
Oh, nice. Oh, I see it now. Okay. Yeah, John, he's a character, man. He's so funny.
Yeah. So, we're talking about slashers. One of my favorite slashers, which, falls into the Friday the 13th category, is The Burning.
Yep.
It has a very young Jason Alexander from Seinfeld fame.
And then the Phoebe's dad. No, was it Phoebe's dad from Friends? The other guy who was in Short Circuit. He's in it too. The nerd with the glasses from Short Circuit with the robot.
Oh, Fisher, right?
Yeah. He's in it. He was in that too.
Yeah, and he went on to become a pretty good director.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. So, what about some other slashers that you guys can think of?
One of my favorites in recent years has been Behind the Mask. The
Leslie Vernon story.
Leslie Vernon, yeah. I thought that was really well done. They kind of took the meta roots that Scream did and gave it a fresh take on it by making it like a mockumentary style movie, and I thought it was excellent. And it's almost jarring because in the third act, when you see his whole plan come together, you're you're like, oh no, I was just following this guy and he was really hilarious. I never thought he would be able to do this, and now he's actually doing it. It's very, very well done. There was a fun little movie called The Lost Girls. No, The Final Girls. That's what it was called. The Final Girls, where
they get sucked.
Yeah,
we watched it a while ago, a couple years ago. That's the one where they get sucked into the movie.
Yeah, so it's Friday the 13th meets Last Action Heroes, and it's really, really well done. Very, there's a lot of heart in the movie. You know, you actually care about the victims a lot, which is something that slashers try to do a lot, and they don't succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And they were able to do that really well with this.
Yeah, very rarely. The ones and sometimes slashers they go to far lengths to make the people that you don't like so unlikable that you want them to die, and that misses the whole point. I get you got to have a jerk, or you got to have a chick that's a bitch or something like that in those movies. That's the cliche, you know what I mean? But don't do it so hardcore, like in the Jason remake in Friday 13th, 2009. The blonde dude was so unlikable and such a douche that it was just like, he's such a character, or such a caricature of a jerky guy. There's not saying there isn't people like that, but it was way too over the top. You know what I mean? You dread every scene he's in. It's almost a joke. It was just,
you definitely wanted him to go as quickly as possible.
Yeah, right. You can be a jerk and still be likable. He was completely unlikable and therefore a caricature of a character.
Yeah. What's funny is that same actor was on the hit TNT series, The Last Ship. And he's playing like a total opposite character. Like he's playing like this. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but we watched it. And Nicole's like, where have I seen? He has a beard, of course, now. But like, she's like, where have I seen him? I was like, that's the dude from Friday the 13th, the remake, the douchebag.
The douchebag. And
he's also playing that same douchebag in the first Transformers movie.
Transformers. I was about to say that. Yeah.
Douchebag in that movie too, with Megan Fox. And it's like, oh, we need a douchebag for this. Well, how about that douchebag? He's good at it. Let's just ramp it up 6 more degrees.
So one of my other favorites was My Bloody Valentine. I think, take it with a grain of salt, people, because I saw the remake before I saw the original. And the remake has Jensen Ackles in it, which is pretty much the only reason I watched the movie.
Of course.
And Brian told me I had to go see it. And then I ended up loving it. And then he showed me the original. And I was like, that was the way you should remake a movie.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a direct remake. It was
a twist that no one saw
coming. Twist that nobody saw coming. So they took what they had and they made it. They paid homage to the original, but also made something new. And I enjoyed the Tom Atkins' death was the best death ever.
Yes.
Yeah. And it was the most disgusting thing I'd ever seen in 3D.
Yeah.
But it was cool.
So I had a discussion with Tom about that death scene, and he walked me through how they did it. He said that the stunt actor it was real bar up until the tip. And so he had it against his throat like this, and then in his mouth he was holding like this foam thing, which was the
tip of
the tip. And he had to hold it in his mouth to make it look like he was being.
That's awesome.
Wow.
And your mouth, you can't help but have your mouth water, and it's just gross. You know what I mean? Do you hold your mouth like that? It's gonna pool with saliva. It's just gross. And it's the same kind of effect at the end of Hot Fuzz.
Mm-hmm.
On the church spire on the little miniature. You know what I mean? Same kind of got a fake thing. It's just. Oh, that part of your jaw with your muscle and your tongue and stuff. Ugh. Yeah, that's not pleasant.
So a couple other slashers. One that is not really a direct slasher, but it falls in that category along with other categories, is the Netflix series, movie, The Babysitter.
I've not watched it yet.
That was so much fun.
That was the first one and the second one were really good. And then, oh my God, if you have not seen it, Freaky with Vince Vaughn.
That's
I was gonna say Happy Death Day is another one.
Oh, I love Happy Death
Yes.
I'm trying to pull the family together to watch Freaky because it looks really good.
It is.
Day. Freaky.
It is really well done. Yeah.
Oliver watched that one with us.
Yes, he liked it.
He was like, "Mom, this is a good movie." I was like, "Yeah."
As a horror fan, it is really good when you see these horror movies and it says Rotten Tomatoes rated it fresh. That is really cool that people are now starting to look at horror movies more like not like the redheaded stepchild of cinema.
Yeah, that day is over. For the most part, that day is over.
Yeah, we really are in a renaissance kind of, thanks to like the recognition that Jordan Peele got with Get Out, and then Guillermo winning for Shape of Water.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's really kind of put horror at a forefront again, where people are talking about it in a very serious way.
And James Wan with the Conjuring series.
Yeah, exactly.
And
you got Ari Aster and all those guys doing the folk horror thing too, which is getting some pretty big attention there.
Yeah, I was gonna say the people over at A24, they've been doing a lot of great stuff. I mean, they released The Witch and Midsommar.
Lighthouse.
Yeah.
I want to see Lighthouse. I have not seen that. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. So good.
But I know my wife and my oldest daughter watched Midsommar during the pandemic, and they're like, "That was such a weird fucking movie."
They have a director's cut.
I feel like Midsommar wasn't traditional horror. It was just so unsettling.
But you said it was beautifully shot.
There's something about a horror movie that happens in the daylight that's just scary.
Wickerman.
Well, Midsommar, all they did was they watched the original Wickerman with Christopher Lee and said, "No one's done anything quite like this since. We're going to do it again."
Yeah, not the Nicolas Cage film. Forget that one.
No, not the
There's this really cool thing about people that are like just kind of on the fringe of society. And they take that leap off kind of the deep end, past where we think normal people should be. And when that's explored, it's kind of like, wow. And then they explored it in the entirety of the daylight. And it was so beautifully shot. The colors were almost ethereal. Like it was so beautiful. And then you see this person jump off the cliff and to a rock, and you're like, what the fuck is happening? Like, I don't know what to do with this.
It's that cult fanaticism, right? That seems to resonate with Americans, probably because of the Charles Manson stuff,
Jim Jones,
and everything. So like all that stuff is scary to us more than any other culture, I feel.
They do it a lot too, because I mean, you got Wickerman. Then there's aspects of that in The Howling with the werewolves. They're that way. They're in a little town by themselves. Wickerman's that little fishing town by itself. Midsommar is the same thing. It's that little close knit group of societal people.
Right.
It's weird.
Yeah. So he brought up The Howling. So I think werewolves is a good topic to talk about here.
My favorite movie monster.
I have 4 films that are like my favorite werewolf films, and no particular order is Ginger Snaps, Dog Soldiers.
Love Dog Soldiers.
The Howling, and American Werewolf in London.
American Werewolf in London. Still one of my favorites.
Those are 4 great films.
I think American Werewolf is easily the best werewolf transformation we've ever seen to this day.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to top. It just is.
I know Boteens gets a lot of recognition and stuff. And I know a lot of people like it, but I think they made the mistake. Some people love it. They made the mistake of holding on it so long. You know what I mean? It's just bladders and there's no movement in the head. It just, I don't know. I didn't, the Quist transformation could have been done. Parts of it are really great, and then parts of it are really bad. Whereas the American Werewolf, you had 2 different sides of the head sculpted differently so they could do it cheaper and quicker.
And then they they also did the reverse video. So like when the hair's like the way that they did it, but yeah, they ran it backwards to make it look like he was transforming, which was really cool.
And they pull the hairs in at the same time as they pull the ear down. So it's growing reverse, hair's coming in, the back, the hair's coming through the skin. Easy. It's very simple, but it worked. It worked really, really well. I love the way Oscar looked, the full wolf. That's the scariest face sculpt ever.
Rick Baker is a genius, and that movie just cemented it more than any others. It's got to be his standout, Yeah. And we're talking about a guy who's had a career in everything.
Yeah, and we talk about the Howling, American Werewolf, and Rick Baker started on the Howling and then hopped over to American Werewolf. So could you imagine if Rick Baker stayed with the Howling, would still be talking about American Werewolf in London? You think?
Who knows? Who knows?
That's one of those what if questions.
Yeah, and I know the quote is never tell someone your secrets or whatever, because Rob went over and did the Howling with it. It's one of those arguments, you know what I mean? It's like they're both great. They both came out at the same time, but they're
isn't that what happened with a Swamp Thing and Man Thing? Weren't those guys like roommates? And they both came up with like a I don't know. Yeah, definitely like fact check me on this, but I'm almost positive they were roommates and they both came out with a heaping pile of mud as a character.
I thought you meant Swamp Thing and Man Thing were actually roommates. I didn't know you meant the creators for a second.
Tony, I think that's a pitch, and I think
that's a reality show. Let's make that happen.
Okay,
Tony,
yes,
you and I are going to go to Marvel DC. Right, we're gonna pitch this crossover book, and it's going to do gangbusters. So,
all right. I think I did read a book about which one came out first, and I think Swamp Thing was actually first, but I'm not sure. I can't remember which way they said it. I think it's only by like a month or two difference.
Yeah,
I'm a Swamp Thing guy more than a Man Thing guy.
I mean, so am I. Alan Moore, that run is just phenomenal.
Yeah, they both came out in 1971.
First.
Let's see. Man Thing first appeared in May of 1971, and then Swamp Thing came in July of 1971.
Okay. All right, so I was wrong. But still, yeah, that's. But which one was pitched first? You can come out, but
yes, they were roommates.
Were they? Wow.
Yes, Gary Conway and
Len Wein.
Yes, they were roommates, and
good job, Omar.
They actually they helped each other. Interesting. Yeah, Omar, you were spot on, man.
They had $1 million idea, man.
Yeah,
clearly.
Yeah, too bad that the Man Thing made for TV movie wasn't good.
Yeah, neither was, unfortunately. I was really looking forward to that R.L. Stine miniseries that they did of him a couple years back, and it was no good either. I was bummed out by that. But meanwhile, my boy Swamp Thing gets like every great writer ever. Like that book hasn't been bad. I don't think since its inception. I can't think
even the TV show, the run of the TV show. I was like, how can you cancel something? How can you not?
I remember watching that. It was on USA Network, I believe.
It was like 4 or 5 seasons, so it lasted a good long run.
And then there was
the new one that was on DC.
CW one, yeah.
That was Oh yeah, that I was pissed when that got.
I mean, I enjoyed the one before that too, but
the new
I think there was the new one. I was really disappointed that the way it was shot and the way it was just written was very.
And they left us.
I felt like it was powerful, and they left us hanging. And I was like, that.
It was very Cronenberg-y. Like it was very like body horror, slow. But just as it was like kicking the third gear with that end of that season, they announced the cancellation. I was like, come on, man! You just got these guys going. Like this is where like you hook people.
Yeah,
it was a slow burn, but what is a good slow burn?
And
like it was,
the thing is, HBO Max decided to continue with Titans, and I don't see why they couldn't continue with Swamp Thing when they shut DC Universe down. There was a lot of rumors that it was too expensive. Bullshit.
Right.
Warner Brothers has a lot of money. They could have.
But how is Swamp? Well, I mean, okay, fine. Swamp Thing might be a little bit more expensive than Titans, but really,
I don't know.
if you think about Titans,
see how
you're
it
playing
could
a lot
be.
of cast, a
You
lot
got
of
10
money.
people in super suits that all have different powers that have to be digitally done or anything like that, as opposed to Swamp Thing, who is, they could have filmed that a lot on a big swamp set. I don't get that whole thing.
Yeah. And the guy that played Swamp Thing in that series also played the remake Jason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Derek Mears.
Yeah, and he was also in Hatchet 2 or 3.
Hatchet 3, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's and then you just got Blue Devil was introduced at the end there.
Right,
You got
right.
Floronic Man. You know what I mean? It really could have been something. It just sucks. And the fact that they put one episode out and immediately announced the cancellation. So every episode you watched after that, you're pissed off in the back of your mind knowing it's not going to go anywhere. There's not going to be an ending to this, And then
Very
no chance.
And then it was over, and then you watched the Flash crossovers with Crisis, and they've got him sitting right fucking there, and they're not going to do anything with him. It was a dead end thing, and it sucked.
I feel like a lot of times that is DC's downfall, is that they don't know what to do with what's good. Like they make something and it's incredible, and it might take a while for people to catch on, but then they're like, oh well, it didn't happen in 5 episodes, so now we got to just quit.
See, I've had this conversation with Omar. Is they gotta stop. They gotta think outside of Batman and Superman, because that's, for the longest time, that's all we got.
I'm tired of the next iteration of whoever. Like, I don't care about Bruce Wayne, or I don't care about him anymore. Like, I'm done. Like, and that's sad for me to say, because I really do love Batman, but I'm like, I'm tired. I'm tired of doing the same thing all the time. It's like, how about this myriad of other amazing characters that, take a card from, Marvel, who, gave these new characters to really good people and managed to make amazing things out of it, i.e. Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, how do you, I mean, this is a relatively unsuccessful book, if you really think about it, like in the grand scheme of things, and people are like, and then they give it to James Gunn, and it was like a smash.
People were like,
they made it a funny Star Wars type, outside of the main thing. You don't need to follow Iron Man and all that to like it,
Right.
And then they eventually worked it, and it worked.
It was its own galaxy kind of
okay,
thing.
so we have a well, he's a friend, but
Ryan
he's trolling us. He's like, what's your favorite scary movie that's not Halloween 1 through 50? And
I
then
ask Brian this all the time. Like, really?
Fun fact: Nightmare is better than Halloween.
Not to me.
Okay, well, I kind of don't know where to go with that. Like, you'll hurt me if I say it.
All right, so look,
go ahead. I'm gonna give the screen here to Omar, so he can. Here you go.
I'm gonna talk directly to you for this one. Yeah, man. Everyone has their likes and dislikes. I mean, some people like caramel popcorn, but really, it's all about the original, right? Like, without Halloween in 1978, you wouldn't have Nightmare on Elm Street. Plain and simple. So respect your elders, and gain a new appreciation for that.
And that was Omar's soapbox.
It's mini rant. What did you do?
I've never been a Freddy guy. He's cool. I don't hate him, but I've never been a Freddy guy.
There's something about like his origin that's very unsettling. So he's not my favorite. Plus, he hangs out in dreams, and I already don't have good ones. So I don't need any help. Like, I don't need more nightmares. Like, I'm good.
And here's the thing about, you talked about his origin. when the remake came out, for as much as people like it or don't like it, they almost, I think if they would have kept the twist going where maybe the townsfolk were wrong, because he was like, did he not do it? And he's justified in killing people. I think that would have been an interesting twist, because it looked like it was going to be that way for a bit. And then they said, nah, he actually did it. And it was like, oh, you almost added something fresh to it. You know what I mean?
And I feel like
I agree with that.
Like the best part of that remake, I did like the remake outside of the script. The script had issues, but Jackie Earle Haley was the best part of that film.
He was the best part of that movie. Like, he was the one person that I think could really carry the torch, or try to at least maybe not solely fill the shoes of Robert Englund, because I don't think anybody can. But
it was a different performance.
But it was
Kevin Bacon was my choice, but
and I don't know if it's true. I heard he reached out to Robert when he got the part.
I really feel I feel like that was good, but I was disappointed in the fact, like, I feel like every monster in a movie has a reason why they become that way, and the townspeople coming after him and burning him, I think really honestly would have been better if he would have been innocent. Like, if he hadn't done it, and then everybody was like, "Oh shit!" Well,
yeah. See, because in the original,
people are stupid.
In the original films, they did allude to that he was a pedophile, but they didn't really say it. Where in the remake they did, which
and they sold Pizza Hut Happy Meal toys of him.
But in the remake, though, the fact that they almost added that he was justified thing to it because they were wrong, I think that would have been a more interesting way to go with it. That would have been the twist.
I agree. They should have done that.
Yeah.
And it was close. I mean, I was watching it going, now that's really cool. That's a cool twist, and it gives a little more depth to him. And then they were like, well, no, I guess he really did do it. He was just a good liar.
Damn.
You know what I mean? It was good. But like Jackie Earle Haley, yeah, I loved him. I liked the more realistic burn makeup. I thought it was really cool. It looked a lot like Gary Oldman's makeup in the Silence of the Lambs movie he was in.
Yeah, where he's Mason
pulled
Verger.
over eye. Yeah, I mean, that makeup was really cool. I have a buddy of mine he loves Freddy. It's his favorite. He hated that makeup and hated Jackie Earle because he's a nightmare purist. But
he's a purist.
I thought it was really cool.
I have to say, I'm gonna say though, like, I'm gonna mince words here with Ryan, because I'm sorry, but I very much enjoyed the Friday the 13th remake with Jared Padalecki, and not just because it had Jared Padalecki in it, but because it was differently shot. There was a final girl. It was just a kind of a different take on it. Even though it was still Jason, it was just a slightly different take on it, and I enjoyed it.
Well, they explained how he could get around because you had the tunnels, you know what I mean, from the mines and all that stuff. So that was kind of neat. I did like the hunter aspect that Jason had.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
And a lot of the criticisms I hear about the movie were literally lifted from the first 4 movies anyway. Mm-hmm. Like, they're just like, oh, I don't like that Jason ran. I was like, well, he ran in part 4. He hauled serious ass in part 4.
Yeah.
And that was the scariest part of that movie to me, was when
he ran in part 2 as well.
Yeah. In part 4, when he starts gunning down the stairs after, I was like, oh no. Get out of there.
When he runs in through the axe, when he's chasing I forget what the character's name was, but he chased him and he threw the axe and it hit him in the back. That was a cool shot because it was just a run up to a certain point, and then he double-handed axe throwed, and it just got him right in the spine. I just thought that was cool. And then, if anything, that movie suffered from feeling very CW because of the, you know what I mean? It had
the younger cast. Yeah.
That time it came out, and like you said, you mentioned Jared in it, and then you had the other one that had, Bloody Valentine had him in it, and it's like at the same time, at the same year, they come off Supernatural and do 2 horror franchises, in their off time. So it was.
And granted, like, you can be a purist and you can love what you love, and I get it, but being new to horror, kind of like, it gave me a nice, like, ease into it with characters or, actors that I already kind of knew. And it helps you see them in different roles too. Like, I mean, really, I guess in a way, a lot of what Jared plays is Sam all the time. And a lot of what Jensen plays is Dean all the time. But in a way, it was nice to see them in a different place because they played the characters, they played the Winchesters for 15 years. Like they had to do something else. And even if it was CW, like it was a break. Like and I enjoyed both of them. So I'm not going to say anything about it, but I've watched all of the originals courtesy of Brian.
Yeah. And I do love Jared's performance in Friday the 13th. And Jared's not a small dude. He's a big dude. I want to say he's like 6'4".
He's 6'4".
And so I found him to be a great foil for Jason. And I could see him be like someone who legitimately could stand up to Jason because this Jason was supernatural.
For a minute.
Yeah,
exactly. And also what happened to that poor kid in Jason Takes Manhattan.
Julius? Talking about Julius?
Yeah.
The less we talk about part 8, the better.
I went and watched that one like 3 times in the theater just because I was visiting my dad. And
can I just mention this about the remake though? Can we just say that it had one of the best horror openings with one of the best like rock songs of all time?
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Well, I just enjoy I enjoy when they kind of give it just a little bit of flavor that's a little different than what the original was. And I appreciate that. Like I've seen both Bloody Valentines and I enjoyed both of them. And, I like them as standalone, like separate entities. And I liked, I watched every Jason movie, every single one of them more than once. And sometimes to my dismay. But I always laugh because the go-to things, like I love Kane Hodder. Like I love this man. Like I wish he was my dad, like a fill-in for my dad now, because he's not old enough, I don't think. But anyways, I love him, and he's the coolest guy ever, and he's amazing. But that sleeping bag scene is still one of my favorite kills of his, and hearing him talk about it is one of my favorite interviews. So whatever, I don't even know where I was going with this. Like I had a train, but I fell off, and I don't know where.
I don't know. You had me at wishing he was your dad.
My dad died when I was 6. He's the closest thing I've got. Anyways,
and yes, Kane is old enough to be your dad.
Is he? But yeah, I don't know where I was going somewhere with it, and I don't know. I don't know where I was going. It was the train to nowhere. I don't know. Yeah. There was a point somewhere, but I don't know where it was, and I lost it. So carry on.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of like the lesser known horror films, like April Fool's Day.
Great one.
April Fool's Day.
Yeah, and then there's a set of films. The second and third, not so much. The first one's all right. Stepfather.
Second one's good. It's different. Yeah, and then they recast
Quinn. Yeah.
Yep.
I Spit on Your Grave.
I Spit on Your Grave. That's classic there.
I love that one.
Did you guys like the remake?
I never saw
the Stepfather. I never saw it. Yeah.
No, the remake of I Spit on Your Grave.
I
never saw it.
I don't remember it very well.
I never saw it because when I saw that they were doing it, I knew I had a feeling of what they were going to do, and I just never saw it. It just seemed like it was going to be, I don't know. Oh,
jeez.
Right?
Oh, my God. Omar, you got to look at this. Boris is here.
Yes, I just read that. It's pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Okay.
Since Boris brought it up,
he wants me to scream out no. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to give him the satisfaction.
Since Boris brought it up, let's talk about Troll 2.
Oh man! All right, let's talk about Troll 2.
Do we have to?
Okay, we just did.
What?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, we did it.
Considered the worst movie ever made. I don't know if I agree with that, because I still have a lot of fun watching it. But
You should have been up
I mean,
there, not me then.
whole documentary on the film, and the director still doesn't understand why everyone thinks it's a bad movie. Like he stands by it 100%.
I'm gonna write Boris right now.
So what about another Jamie Lee Curtis horror film, Terror Train?
Yeah,
Good one.
Terror Train's good, very good.
I have to show the wife that one.
Yeah, I showed you a couple months back.
I don't know. I think I could have lived without seeing that.
Really?
I was like, I don't know if I can. I don't know. I can't handle this.
Prom Night. Prom Night's another good one.
But
Prom
this
Night's
is
good.
dumb stuff scares me, so I don't know. I don't know. It was stuck in my head.
I'm trying to think of some other ones out there.
Happy birthday to me.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one.
I actually picked that up on Blu-ray last year.
You don't get to see one of the Ingalls, one of the Little House on the Prairie kids in that light very much.
Yeah. So Nicole's looking at the list here, and I just saw a title: "Dead and Buried."
Oh, great one. Great one.
Yeah.
Never seen that one? Or have you seen it?
No, I've seen that one. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Have I seen it?
No, you have not seen that one.
Oh, it needs
That's
to go
another
back.
one. That's another one that goes with the isolated town folk kind of a vibe.
Yeah.
That's a
Um,
good one.
Yeah, I did show you Two Evil Eyes. That was a good one.
That was wow. It creeps me out.
That's Karloff, isn't it?
That's the one with they did the Edgar Allan Poe stories. It was two movies.
Okay.
One had Harvey Keitel, and with the cat.
Okay.
Black
I'm
Cat?
trying to remember
The
which
Black
one
Cat,
I'm
yeah.
thinking of that had Karloff in it. I thought it had that same
Okay.
title.
So, Cujo. So I did read the book, and I watched the movie, and I watched the movie when I was young. So it came out in '83, and that movie still scares me.
Oh, see, this is why I'm telling you I should have.
Lord.
Yeah, you had to introduce you to Boris. Boris had Omar and Stitches at Phantasm, by the way.
He's so funny. Oh God! I spit on your food.
We watched Chopping Mall.
Chopping Ball, yeah.
I was like, okay, talk about '80s.
Yeah, that's very, very, very 80s.
What about another '80s film, Chud?
Chud,
I love
the
Chud.
first one. Yep.
That's one of Robert Downey Jr.'s favorite movies. Fun fact.
Chud, really?
Yeah, he's mentioned it a couple times.
Okay, so let me dive into just how pathetic I am. So I'm a child of the '80s, but I'm also one of those kids that never slept very well. So I would fall asleep on the couch with my dad, and I occasionally wake up with the TV on. And at 2 a.m., there was always the weirdest, like '80s movies on there, like the weirdest horror movies they could find. And so at some point during this time, I fell asleep on the couch with the TV on, was when Ghoulies was on TV. And I forever have burned into my brain the thing coming out of the toilet. And I couldn't function for a long time. Like I was like, I was terrified. I would check the toilet and I left the lid open and I was one of those kids. But then, yeah, it was
that scene was only added to that movie because of the cover. It coming out of the toilet was not originally in the cut of the movie. It was just for the cover, and then they said, "Well, people are going to want to expect to see that," so they.
Yeah.
Yep, you got it.
Yeah. I don't know.
So what about Critters? There we go.
Critters is great. Critters is good.
Yeah, and it's so funny because Leonardo DiCaprio has no memory of doing it.
I'm sure by choice. I'm sure.
The Leprechaun series.
Barf.
I like the one.
Jennifer Aniston probably has no recollection of doing that one.
I don't blame her.
What that first?
I would hope for amnesia.
Wasn't that her first actual role? Wasn't that first one?
I think so.
Because then a couple years later, she did Office Space.
Yeah.
Wasn't she? I think she was in Mac and Me. I think she was, but not. She was just an extra in Mac and Me. I believe she was in the. You ever seen that?
Yeah, it wasn't a credited role, was it?
Fucking movie.
Mac and Me. I love Mac and Me.
Really? Yeah. You and Paul
as a kid, I loved it.
Yeah, because I think there's the McDonald's scene when everyone's dancing. I think she's in the background of that. I think that was one of her first things, and then Leprechaun was the starring role.
Speaking of like first starts for like famous actors, George Clooney's first one was in Return of the Killer Tomatoes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which
Big old hair,
is far superior to the first one. It's so good.
I very much
actually, I mean, that was his. He was in The Facts of Life before that, though.
Well, yeah, but he wasn't on. Like, it was a movie. That was his break into movies, I think.
Yeah,
and I think he was a security guard in Return to Horror High. I think, or Return to Slaughter High, or Return to Horror High.
Oh my God! So now John is trolling you.
Like,
we already did that, John. You're late to the game.
So I always tell this story because
I love this story.
I loved the movies in the 90s where they would try really hard to like bring everybody into the horror genre. So People Under the Stairs was legitimately like, it scared me when I was 11, but now I watch it and I laugh because part of that movie could really happen. The scariest parts of the movie do happen on a daily basis in the foster system. So that's to be said. But when you're an 11-year-old kid and you watch this movie and there's people living in the walls of the house, you get a little freaked out. And so that just happened to be the same night my sister's gerbil got out, or hamster, whatever the hell it was, and chewed on the wall underneath my bed. And so
you heard the scratching.
Sat up all night thinking that there were people in my wall until the stupid hamster ran out, and I was like, and then I felt like an idiot. See, this is why I don't like haunted houses. This is why I don't like things jumping out at me. I can watch a horror movie in the comfort of my own home with the lights on and go about my business.
Well,
I'm special. I'm sorry.
So I do want to touch base on this too, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted Anthony back was let's talk about Phantasm. So 2 weeks ago we had Anthony on before his show, and he was talking about all the cool stuff that was to be had. Last weekend we spent the weekend at his show. Omar came up. And Omar, you did a great write-up on your thoughts on Phantasm. And I had told you that in the Phantasm group, it is blowing up. Like, people are loving it. People are sharing it. So I'm going to start with you. Your experience with this man's project.
It's there.
Man, I can't say enough good things about it. Like, I had such a blast at the show. And not just with, the actual attractions of the event itself, but like the way the convention staff was and how they had everything set up and organized. You don't notice those little details until you start missing it at other shows. Like the water stations everywhere, the way everyone was really attentive and excited to like talk to you and show you where to go and give you like, there was such a good, genuine vibe at the convention versus like I've gone to big shows before where people are just jaded and it's almost like you're inconveniencing them to ask them a question. When I got there, and we get into the dealer's room. Immediately, the vendors are excited to be there too, and they're talking to you about everything they've seen so far, and they're telling you to go check out this other booth as well. You get all the celebrities were so nice. I mean, I had lengthy conversations with a few of them myself. Richard Brake stood out a lot for me. Tom Atkins, of course, was a personal checklist of mine that I wanted to meet finally. The Haunted Maze, I give you guys all the credit in the world, Anthony, man. Like that Haunted Maze had some of the best production value I've seen outside of like Halloween Horror Nights. Like the way it was executed was really, really well done. Is genuinely spooky. Like they had my girlfriend Kayla jumping, and she's not a jumper,
right?
But they were spooking her.
Well, that team, they busted butt on that to make sure that happened and came together. And yeah, they're the MVPs for sure because they wanted it to be something special. They didn't want it to disappoint. It got a little bit of a later start than what they wanted, but that things happen. There's always going to be hiccups, and then they know what to do for next time, and how to change something to make it go smoother. But yeah, all those guys, Jimmy and Chris and Courtney and the other guys, they kicked ass on that, and it definitely stood out. Everyone seemed to really, really love it. So I'm glad you loved it too. I'm glad you had
it was excellent.
Yeah, and then of course you had a great conversation with Sean Clark.
Yeah, I sure did. We talked about some projects that I'm very, very interested in.
Yeah, you got your answer.
I'll keep it close to the vest, but I definitely got my scoop.
Of his projects or your projects?
Of his.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So.
I appreciate though the fact that there was stuff for the kids to do too, like, because there weren't things that were initially horribly scary, like that were out to like for them to see, but then there were places where they could go and do very kid-friendly things, and I think that was important too. And it gave, I think in a way, like it gave Brian a chance. Like it was a tough weekend, so when I had to leave for a while, and it gave Brian a chance to have the kids do something else that kind of gave them an outlet, kind of, and then they could go watch the panel.
Yeah,
and it would
kudos to your wife who ran the kids craft room. She was doing an excellent job, and I didn't really have a chance to thank her at the end of the show. But I wanted to tell you.
I mean, he took the kids there when I had to leave the show, so I didn't get to go to the thing, but like I was super excited that there was a place for them to go that gave them a little bit of downtime to be kids instead of being the decent human beings we want them to be while they're walking through the show.
That's what you wanted to do, something like that, because it can get sensory overload for children sometimes, and then they may not want to do what you want to do, and they get a little cranky or whatever. It's just some place that they can go that was quiet, that wasn't on the show floor, or didn't have monsters running around or anything like that, or it wasn't celebrities that they may or may not know and don't care to stand there and sit and while you talk for an hour with or whatever. So it was just something she wanted to do. And
all right, well, you just tell him right now he is going to get punched.
So John
cannot jump out at me. I will scream, pee, and punch you. Like that's what's going to happen. I'm not good at the whole jump scare stuff.
Yeah,
terrible.
But I kudos to everybody that worked on this show. And I mean, all the celebrities. I mean, James was always gushing about how he was enjoying his time there. I mean, even as I'm standing with the mask and him signing it, he was talking about how he just
was having a good time.
Yeah.
And part of that I think is too, like the vendors that were there too, like the vendors that I got to talk to, they were excited to be there and they were excited to show off the things that they had brought, and they were super positive about the show. I mean,
I saw that there were some vendors complaining, but that's every show. They always want to complain about something.
Well, there's always that one person that will complain louder than everybody. And yeah, just finally had to walk away from them and say never mind. But I truly enjoyed like being able to see a lot of the different things that were there. Not just like there was just a lot of horror vendors that were making cool stuff.
Also, we had to get the Elvira pop.
Nice.
It was absolutely necessary.
Yeah,
but it was interesting. It was fun.
People are always. I mean, you can only please 80% of the people 80% of the time, if that. And just we never said tough or not our problem or something like that. If there's an issue, we always try to find a way to fix it.
Right.
If it's not a fixable issue or something that we can't fix or change or anything like that, we're going to tell you why, and hopefully they understand. At least a common ground there of that we're doing our best. We're a growing show, but yeah, you're always going to have an issue with, I wanted power. I don't have power. I don't have enough light. I'm not in a good spot. And that's the thing, when vendor rooms fill up and less booths or tables become available, those are the tables that are available. It does suck, but sometimes that's what you're stuck with. And it's not something that we're trying to say, tough. We're trying to help you out.
And some of the things are completely out of your control. You can't control Wi-Fi. You can't control things that are event area specific, like convention space specific. Like you can't control that. And so people are like, well, I need this to be able to do this. And so one person is freaking out about it. Well, the other one's saying, well, I'll just give it a minute and see, how I can get access to whatever. And so it's just about who you're talking to at that moment. But overall, I mean, like every person that I talk to, like I'm not even joking. Like I love Supernatural and I will love Supernatural till the day I die. And so sitting in the freaking Impala, even though it's not the real prop car, I had a small like giddy schoolgirl kind of thing.
Yeah, they are though the only certified by Warner Brothers replica that goes to conventions, which is cool.
So and he was great. Like Paul was amazing, and Crystal was equally incredible. And they had a big surge of people come in at the end of the show, and that's really when I had the time to go. And so they had a bunch of people that were coming and picking up pictures and wanting to get pictures done and everything. So, he was really, gracious and great. And so a lot of the vendors that I talked to, they were excited about being there, and it gave them an opportunity, another place to go besides Spooky. And they could meet more people that might not see their wares. Mm-hmm. And that's a lot of like, and the girl that was behind Bittersweet Brushes, she's like, well, I'm going to Spooky. She said, will you guys be there? And I'm like, well, no, we probably won't go to Spooky. But she's like, I'm really jazzed about being here. I hope we can come next year. Stuff like that. So she was able to give her cards out to people, and she was able to network, and she was able to meet a whole nother group of people that she wouldn't have met at Spooky.
Right.
Yeah, we're a growing show, so we can only hope to get bigger and better and broaden out and things like that. But we're gonna always keep that same level of listening to the fans and listening to the attendees and listening to the vendors and listening to the guests and try to do our best to make it that amusement park type feel where you don't just want to be there, you need to be there, and it, not to get too big that we lose sight of the reasons we're doing it. So
I think that's why everybody had a good time too. Mm-hmm. Like I think that's why, and the accessibility, like it was cool because I don't know any of the people well enough to like just go up to them and have a conversation. But Brian was like, we were leaving the show and Will Sandin was sitting out waiting for like whoever's picking him up to the airport, right?
Right.
And so he was sitting out there like with his bags and stuff, and he was just chilling. And Brian went up to him and had a whole conversation with him. It wasn't a super long conversation, but he was jazzed about the show too. He's like, I'm looking forward to coming back. He said, this was great.
Well, so, good.
I mean, if you can make more people happy than not happy, it's like, so the Wi-Fi sucked. So the convention center is a little off the beaten path. I liked the convention center. The space was nice.
Yeah. You know, the one thing you're talking about, the Wi-Fi, the other thing was that the temperature in there, it was cold, you know what I mean? And we tried to get them to bump it up a bunch of times. But the problem is that room was so tall. Once it gets cold, you know, it gets to a certain level, you'd almost have to really ramp it up to 85 before it starts to affect that space. And then it gets too hot and takes too long to cool it back down, and then the show's over for the day. So it was hard to try to find that medium of cooling the space. And they should know that you're going to get so many people in there and it's going to get warmer or hotter. And if there's not that many people in there,
it's colder longer.
So it was cold. And, you know, we had, you know, Mimi Craven was chilly, and then Marley Renfro was chilly. So it was a hard balance. We never quite found the temperature level. So that's something.
So John, as a vendor, is saying, hey, for a second year, I thought it was well done.
I mean, thank you, and when you think about it, like, think about the challenges that the year has brought just in general. Mm-hmm. Like, we were shut down for essentially a year and a half, really. I mean, we didn't have any of this. And now that we're back, there's like this motion to get back out there. And so there's a rush to kind of get the word out. Right. And
because there's still some people that don't want to come out.
For people to, like, there's a handful of people that are ready to come out, and then a handful of people that are still kind of like, you know, I don't know. And so, I mean, I think that really in general, you got to think about that. Like, it was pretty good turnout for coming off of a year and a half of quarantine.
And that's one thing, is like, we're going to always treat it, no matter what year show it is, as if that's the first year, because that only makes you get better and better as you go along. And with 2019 happening, and it wasn't a big show. The show had a better turnout than the first year. And then being off the whole of 2020, that this is essentially more or less year one again, because more people knew about us. We had more social media push, more people with word of mouth that were there the first year or had us on their social media for all of 2020. So this was actually a year one for us. That's how we're looking at it. The first year was a dry run. Is there enough interest in it? And then this year was, all right, now we know what to do, what we learned from the first year in 2019. How can we make this year better? And we quadrupled it. So now we can only get bigger going forward.
Man, this is how I feel. John says, are there things that can be worked on to improve? Of course. But that's any event. To me, if vendors had issues, it's on them. I saw them and set up market-wise for it. I had a blast. Nothing but praise for Tony and the Phantasm team.
Definitely.
Thank you, John. Yeah, and we can only hope it gets better.
And like I said, like, not being like, I was totally new to horror conventions in general. Like, that was my first one.
And I think it was a great convention.
Every one that I had ever gone to was like that. I wasn't stressed out. I didn't feel claustrophobic. I didn't have any issues with anything that happened. And for a very anxious, very, I had 2 kids, like, none of that was an issue. Like, there are days when I leave MegaCon completely drained because of just the magnitude of the show and the magnitude of about how many people are there, and nobody knows what the hell's going on. And then they all want to tell you something different. And it's a very tiring show. And this show wasn't tiring. It was like, oh, well, I can go talk to this person. I'm going to talk to this person. I'm going to have my picture taken with the car, and I can do this. And I didn't freak out. Like,
those shows are necessary. A big corporate show like that.
Mm-hmm.
They're huge. They're giant vendor halls, and Dragon Con's the same way. I've never been to Dragon Con, but I mean, you think MegaCon is big. and stressful.
Yeah.
I'm sure Dragon Con is. I've only heard the stories. So
yeah, Dragon Con is for those. I mean, yeah, they have celebrities that come and they have comic book guests and they have panels and stuff. But a lot of people go to Dragon Con to party.
Mhm. Mhm.
But I have to say, we went to San Diego Comic-Con twice.
I mean, I grew up in San Diego, so that was.
So it wasn't a new thing for you. But when I went both times, it wasn't. Yes, it's a gigantic con, but it never made me feel uncomfortable. I didn't ever feel as anxious as I do at MegaCon, and so. And
because at San Diego, they know what they're doing.
Ever have been at MegaCon. Like, MegaCon makes me very uncomfortable. Like, I know that there will be nothing but me scrambling to get to the places I need to go, keep the kids entertained, and make sure they're fed. And I will never be good at any of it. And
San Diego,
as a parent, like, we had, like, Shane, Brian's stepson, or my stepson, Brian's son, we all went to San Diego and we all had a good time. And Shane never had a problem because, there were places we could go and we could do these things in between. And so even though it was a busy day, it wasn't maniacal. Like, it didn't make me crazy. And so maybe that's kudos to showrunners, but this was a nice break from insanity. And I got to talk to people and I got to enjoy the scenery.
Yeah. And like I said, we want to be back next year and cover year 3 and 4 and 5. And for the next 10, 15, 20 years, whatever, we want to keep coming back.
Very much. And I would very much enjoy to help with the kids room too, because it would give.
Oh, that'd be great.
Something to do.
She would welcome the help because, when more attendees come, and it's not going to be a drop off. It's not going to be like the daycare. We want at least a parent in there to supervise. It's hard, just for liability reasons. It's hard to, you don't want just a room full of children that you don't know, just in case. So, yeah, she would welcome the help, I'm sure.
It's not a babysitting service.
Right.
Place. Yeah, it's a cool down place. So, Omar, what are your final thoughts on Phantasm? And for those that may not be familiar with Phantasm, what would you say to them to come out next year, whether they live in Orlando or not?
What I would say is that Phantasm is unlike any convention period that I've ever been to. There's so many different things to do. Great ways to spend your weekend. You're not going to get bored, and it just needs to grow. Like, I can't urge people enough to come out and check it out, so this can become the premier convention in the Central Florida area. I think it should be. I had a blast, man. I can't wait to return back next year and do it all over again.
Awesome, thank you. We want you guys to come back for sure. You guys have been great.
Yeah, and my thing is, kudos to the team. My thought is, I want this to be the premier horror convention in not only Central Florida but in the state of Florida. For the longest time, there was only one player in town, and now there's another player. Horror as a community has always been about bringing people together, and the other show, I felt like, they brought the horror community together, but only in their circle. And Phantasm doesn't show that. Phantasm is about everybody. This is a big sandbox. We can all play together. And
sandbox. We can all eat the sand together.
Yeah, we can all eat the sand. But I believe that this show has a big heart and cares truly about everybody that's involved. And I just want to help you guys grow.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. We can't wait to have you back out.
I was always, like, a lot of the people said, I wish that more people had heard about this. And so I said, well, now that's not, take it from, like, we all liked the page. Let's go share it to these other places that are also like-minded individuals. So now it's going to have to rely a little bit more on the social media aspect, as social media warriors, kind of like we're going to go share it over here and we're going to share it over here and we're going to talk about it, because one person that has one negative thing to say, they didn't have a good turnout or they didn't have fun or they didn't whatever, can, negate what 5 people that had a great time say, because the people that had a great time aren't as loud. We have to be louder.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. Like you said, you can't please everybody, and sometimes, and a lot of times, that the gripes actually do have weight and do have merit. You have to listen to them. You have to see if it's a problem that, if it is meritable, what can you do to change it? What can you do to fix it? And that's what we're striving to do. So, but we had quite a bit of media coverage this year. A lot of YouTubers and a lot of bloggers and things that came. We gave out quite a few press passes, and and we knew that is going to be, a deciding factor going forward. And even Clark has said, you guys got a lot of press this weekend. So.
Yeah, I mean the collective Grimm, or the Grimm Collective. I saw their videos on YouTube, and man, they did some great stuff, and they said some great stuff about your show. What is it? The World of Micah also did a great spot on the show. So yeah, like we are all here to support you. So
thank you.
I was trying to get Oliver to tell them what he thought, but he was too busy rocking out with his hair. So,
but yeah, Oliver had a good time, and that's important. Our kids had a good time. That's important.
That's good.
I'm gonna eat the rest of the brown.
No.
So.
A good time until they left, right?
Yeah. And then we had our own horror movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I saw that. How's he doing?
Oh, it looks so much better, but his nail is pretty much gone. Like it's gonna be gone real soon.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was pretty ugly.
I farted.
Thanks for sharing with everybody. You can't tell us about the horror conventions, but you can tell us about what came out of your butt. Thank you very much.
Kids, man. That's how kids are.
To be the mother of boys. Hooray.
Yeah. Yeah, but please, everyone, follow Fantasm Orlando on Facebook. Are you guys also on Twitter and all that as well?
Yeah, I believe the Twitter is not as active as it needs to be. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. We got the website phantasmorlando.net.
Yeah.
The Twitter thing. I don't know about the TikTok stuff, like they were talking about earlier, but
yeah. And you guys don't have an OnlyFans, right?
No, OnlyFans. Boris does.
Boris has an OnlyFans.
Yeah, Boris has one.
Yeah, and then of course your website is phantasmorlando.net.
Hey.
Thank you. Yep.
So yeah, guys, please help this show grow. They are fantastic, and so we were talking with Kevin Cleveland earlier, and his page is kclevelandart.com. You want to go check out his art and his Icons of Horror book, and then plus he has the comic that he's working on. Omar, you have any last words? Do you have anything cool coming up that you want to talk about?
This coming week for the editorials, I'm going to talk about the Daniel Craig era of James Bond films, and with No Time to Die coming out this weekend. Other than that, I'm always working on something. As per usual, I got a radio drama that I'm trying to get off the ground based on Will Eisner's The Spirit, and I also have a pilot for a TV show about working at a Renaissance fair that I'm hoping to hear back from my buddy who's a director soon to see about when we can start shooting, because the pilot's done.
Nice.
That'll be fun.
Nice. And what about you, Anthony? I know that you're just coming off of Phantasm. What do you have planned going forward? I'm sure it probably is year 3. You're probably going to be start working on it here in the next couple of weeks or months, maybe.
Yeah, we have some talking to do about some of the issues that came up and what we need to work on in terms of the staff and departments, and there'll be some changes as to how some things are run. There'll be some people that are going to be in different positions and things like that. Nothing is set yet for 2022, but yeah, it's just we just came off of this. Like I said, the house is still erect. It's slowly putting things away and trying to figure out where we're going forward. But yeah, so that's about it for now. Now it's back to life as usual.
Back to life as usual.
Yeah.
So where can people find you on social media if they want to just talk about whatever? And
me personally,
yeah,
I only have a Facebook, so
Facebook. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not the tech savvy guy. I'm not the social media person. I'm not I don't always share pictures of my food and all that kind of stuff. Occasionally, usually it's just with close friends and taking pot shots at each other and stuff. So, but yeah, just Facebook. Anthony Greco on Facebook or the Fantasm site. You can reach me through there.
Yeah, and then also you have a Fantasm Orlando group on Facebook, which has got a great community of people not only talking about Phantasm, but they're talking about their horror movies and horror art, and of course Boris is somewhere in there.
Boris is there all the time, yeah, and then all those guys, Monster Man, they're all tight. Doomsday's Crypt with John and you guys, and we're going to be probably doing a offshoot of the group where we showcase vendors from the year that we had, and then as vendors sign up for ongoing years, like for each year, we'll be doing like a little spotlight or a showcase, in the group too. So just to put the word out that they're going to be there as well. So that's going to be an offshoot that we're working on as well.
Yeah. Well, this has been another episode of Reels and Heels, and it's time to ring that bell.
Ding ding.
Take care.